I, 23 female, have been a nanny for this wonderful family for 3 years. The family consists of Mom, I'll call her Ada, Dad, I'll call him Brian, and their one child, I'll call her Cecilia. I started when Cecilia was a month old, and at this point, they all feel like part of my family too. I decided to stick with them even after graduating from college, instead of immediately pursuing a teaching career, because I love Cecilia so much. On top of that, they pay me well. I'm super close with Ada. We have a friendship now outside of me being her nanny. We talk and text on the weekends. I'm always invited to birthday parties and things like that. Yes, she's my employer, but she's also an amazing person. Last weekend, I was out with my boyfriend getting dinner. Surprisingly, I also saw Brian at the restaurant with a woman who was certainly not Ada. I tried to assume the best, thinking maybe it was a relative of his or something, but then he leaned over and kissed this woman. I was shocked and just told my boyfriend we should go somewhere else, and I pulled him out of there quickly because I didn't want Brian to see me. This happened on Saturday of last week. I thought things through that night and over Sunday, and I really didn't know what to do. Ada is expecting another child with Brian, and I tried putting myself in her shoes. I decided if it were me, I'd want to know that my husband was seeing another woman, so I told her on Monday morning. Brian is never the one home in the morning when I show up. It's always Ada. I walked in, took a deep breath, and explained what I'd seen. I hoped she'd tell me that their relationship was open or they were already separating, but unfortunately that's not what happened. She immediately got tears in her eyes and was just shaking her head in disbelief, and she kept asking me if I was sure that I'd seen him. I told her yes, and she left for work still crying. When she got home later, she seemed pretty emotionless and was quite cold with me. I got a text later that evening saying that she and Cecilia would stay with her parents for a week or two, and that she wouldn't need me to nanny until they got back. I haven't received any further communication from her. I thought I was right for telling her, but my mom and some friends told me I was wrong for sticking my nose in their business. My mom even said I'll probably end up losing my job now, and I'll admit that has me very stressed out. Now I feel like an idiot who blew up a marriage and stressed a pregnant woman out. So, am I the idiot? Edit, this man was at a restaurant about 30 minutes from our small town. No, OP, not the idiot, not at all. You absolutely did the right thing and for the right reasons. Her husband blew up the marriage, not you. You did not stick your nose in their business. He advertised his business in public and you happened to see it. Thank goodness. Can you imagine being pregnant with your second child? You have that child, then a few years later you have a mysterious STD, so it comes out your husband was a dirtbag cheater, and then you find the nanny knew the whole time and didn't tell you? No way. You were right to do what you did. It doesn't sound like he was even trying to hide it. There's only one idiot here, the cheating piece of crap husband. Unfortunately, you may lose your job, but that's not your fault. On the other hand, you may end up being needed more than ever depending on the parents' employment situation and if they split. Thank you for telling her, by the way. She has every right to know. One thing I don't get, what stops you from calling the mother and asking how the kid is and if she's okay? You said you're very close, so why would you not call? She may not be able to afford a nanny during and after divorce, so don't assume there's anything personal involved there. Give her the time she noted before getting too concerned, but I advise signing up to substitute teach in your area in the meantime. Don't delay your future while you wait. Thank you for doing what you did. I wish someone would have done so for me back in the day. Update, I took the advice of many people here and applied to be a substitute teacher for my local school district. I should probably get on top of it just in case. Thank you for your reply. It's a horrible situation all around, but ultimately I'm glad I told her. My suspicion is that there have probably been signs of something going on, and telling her I saw him out with another woman just confirmed it for her. My ex and I, 43 female, got divorced 4 years ago because he cheated on me. We have a pre-tween son together. Ex is going through some kind of midlife crisis, I guess, and keeps dating different women. His new toy is a young girl in her early 20s, and he seems to be serious about her. They got engaged a few months ago. A few days ago, when it was my custody time, my son was invited to my ex-mother-in-law's home for her birthday. When it was time to go after my son and bring him back home, my ex-mother-in-law insisted I go in and eat some cake, and I agreed. My ex's new toy was there, and talking to my ex-sister-in-law, She asked her how many kids she was planning to have, and she answered that she'd always wanted 2 kids, and since she already had a son, she just wanted 1 more, hopefully a girl. Newsflash, she doesn't have any kids. She was talking about my kid. I told her to never refer to my son as hers again and reminded her that she doesn't have a child and my son is only mine. She called me a crazy witch and asked me if I was about to leave soon. I took my son and left. Am I the idiot for reminding my ex's new fiancée that she doesn't have a child? Edit, my son adores her. When he comes to my house, all he can talk about is how cool Hannah is. It feels like she's trying to alienate me. You are the idiot. Babe, you're alienating yourself with your jealousy. Don't make your son choose between you two. You might not love the result. The dehumanizing way you're talking about a human being is horrific. She's not a toy. She's a person. If you hate your ex this much, fine. But redirecting your hate for him as someone completely innocent in your separation is unacceptable. And for the record, your son is not only yours, he's your ex's child as well. And if your ex does marry this woman, she will be his stepmother. And you've made an enemy of her already. It's not a smart move. This all the way. Good grief, OP, tell me you're bitter without telling me you're bitter. Your ex did a bad thing. Not this woman, neither your son. And you know that sooner or later your son will have a stepmom. Your ex found a woman willing to treat your son like her own and not try to throw him away to start her own family. That's a blessing, not a curse. Stop throwing good co-parenting by the window and start thinking about what is best for your child. OP, I mean this in the nicest way possible. Are you in therapy? This guy did a number on you and you are holding on to much well-deserved resentment. But this is not good for you. You deserve to be able to move on. Yes to this. Geez, honey, get some damn therapy. Referring to the person who will have a ton of contact with your child as your ex's toy is gross behavior from a grown woman. And considering you're harping on the fiancé's age so much, it is shockingly immature. This new woman didn't destroy your marriage, your husband did. Get over this. Get help. You're a grown damn 43-year-old woman acting worse than a teenager. Yes, he's not her biological son, but she wants to treat him as if he is her son. You should be grateful. My daughter-in-law and her babies stay with me. I don't want to get into what happened with my son, but he's not in the picture now. It's only them two. I've noticed that my daughter-in-law is horrible at cleaning up after herself and the baby. She often has dirty diapers, bibs and clothes lying in the open. She leaves dirty bottles in the sink and the baby's high chair with leftover food. Over and over again, I've gently reminded her to take care of these things, and it seems like nothing I say sticks. It'll be good for a while, but then it'll start happening again. I'm tired of living in these conditions in my own home, and it's not good to raise a baby in an unclean environment or develop these habits either. I'm not her maid. I help out with the baby as much as I can, and I don't charge her rent. So I finally put my foot down and said that if she doesn't stop being a slob, we're going to have to find different arrangements. I wouldn't actually kick them out. This was just more of a tactic to get her to start cleaning up after herself. She said that she's trying her best, but it's tough on her being newly single, young, first-time mom, and she misses my son and has depression. She hasn't been diagnosed because of it. Am I an idiot? Should I be more patient and understanding with her? So, how long is your son in prison for? Or rehab? Your loser son left her to deal with this all by herself. She's also probably got PPD, which doesn't care if you get a diagnosis. It's still gonna wreck you. She knows she's a hot mess. Reminding her of it is the opposite of helpful. You are the idiot. She's doing better at being a parent than your deadbeat son is. OP, you're leaving out the key piece of the story. Why your daughter-in-law is a single mom of an infant. I highly suspect that is the prime factor, combined with postpartum hormones, in why your daughter-in-law struggles with depression. First, stop threatening to put her out. It's only making the depression and anxiety worse, making her feel more lost and hopeless and that her life isn't worth living. Next, help her find a counselor and therapist immediately. Also, help her find social service resources that may be available due to her current economic situation and why your son has dropped out of the picture. Wow, you must resent this woman for casually dismissing something as serious as depression. I mean, wouldn't you be depressed if your baby daddy was in prison or a deadbeat? Wouldn't you be depressed if you were a single mom and the grandma who could help was complaining to you and calling you names? Maybe offer help and show some compassion. My friend is getting married next year, but she's done the most horrible things behind her fiancé's back. My friend, Sarah, 26, is engaged to an old friend of mine from high school, Jason, 26. In 2022, Sarah cheated on Jason with his co-worker from a job he got her. I've told her, and many of our close friends told her, it's wrong and unfair to Jason. Note, he's been cheated on before. She claims she felt terrible and regrets it. At her New Year resolution, she told him she had an emotional affair and the only physical thing was a kiss. She left out the part where she had intimacy with him multiple times, but Jason forgave her and wanted to start over. In February, she messaged a guy, Eric, 29, on Instagram, who she knew had feelings for her. She went on a date and said he was weird and not her type. Eric works a professional job and is more stable, and he lives in a different state 10 hours away. She starts talking to Eric more often and he eventually flies her out to see him. She told our close friend group about how she wanted to leave Jason for Eric. We tell her that's fine, but she needs to be honest with Jason. Jason proposes to her in March and she accepts and starts the wedding planning process. He works in construction outside of the city and comes home every 20 days for a week. After the proposal, he says he wants to be celibate until the wedding day to have God's blessing. She took that as an opportunity to have unprotected intimacy with Eric whenever she wanted. She visits him 3 or 4 times a month because Jason is out for work. When I asked her if she was even using protection or getting tested, she said no, only loose women get tested, and that she was against birth control. Slowly, our friend group started to exclude her. We can't support someone who is reckless, selfish, has no regard for the love of her life. Then, a few months ago, she came to a dinner party and told us she was pregnant with Eric's baby. She laughs it off and we tell her she needs to come clean now, and this has gone on for too long. She says now isn't the time because Jason planned a trip to Mexico and she really wanted to go. Also, Jason pays for her car and phone bills and she isn't equipped to let that stuff go. Well, she got a procedure but continues to make light of the issue. Eric finally broke things off because he felt she would treat him the same way and he couldn't look at her anymore. She was upset but said, "It's whatever now, I have a wedding to plan." I want Jason to know what's been happening. I don't want to be involved, but he does not deserve to marry someone who treats him so poorly. I've known him longer than her and he's a good guy. Would I be an idiot if I told him what she was doing? Not the idiot. Sarah sounds just awful in oh so many different ways. Take telling Jason the truth as an opportunity to have no contact with her. However, I would expect Jason to be very upset with you, not just because shoot the messenger is a very real response to news like this, but because you sat on this for so long. You should have told him when Sarah lied to him about her first affair. You should have told him when you knew she was having an affair in the first place. Sarah sounds deeply self-absorbed and profoundly lacking in compassion, empathy and respect. But you covered up for her. There will be consequences and you will have to face them. Tell Jason the whole truth, all of it. Tell him to get tested. Cut Sarah out of your life. Then look at yourself and ask why you stayed silent when you knew one of your friends was getting hurt. OP, you're telling me that for over a year you knew this woman cheated with a co-worker, lied about it, started dating a guy from another state and visited him multiple times a month, got pregnant by the guy, and you never told your friend. You're the idiot because you watched someone you consider a friend since high school get used and cheated on by someone and didn't say a word. I guess girl code is more important, huh? For the love of all that, there is someone in your friend group who actually needs to be Jason's friend and tell him. You are the idiot for not telling him sooner. He sounds like a good guy, but you sound like a horrible human being for letting it go on this long. Much like your friend, who you thoroughly deserve. My 5th grade son is part of an after-school program. Basically, he stays in the yard and plays with his friends and does activities. It's like an after-school camp. I worked near his school and took a late 3 p.m. lunch today. I went to the grocery store and was puzzled by all these kids running rampant. I realized they were from my son's school. Then I saw this short blonde-haired kid who looked like my son chasing this kid who looked like his best friend with a bag of sugar and weaving between people. As he got closer, I realized this was my son. As he ran past me, I pulled him into me and told him to calm down. He realized it was me and asked why I was there. I said I was on lunch and why is he there? He told me his teachers took the after-school camp to the store to buy snacks. He asked me to let him go and I said no. I told him he knew how to act in a store and as his dad, his behaviour was embarrassing. I took him to one of the teachers and asked if he belonged to him. He said yes to him and another teacher. He asked what was wrong and if I could let him go. I said he and other kids are running around the store like a playground and you and Mrs. Daniel should be watching them better. Oh, and I'm his dad. Mrs. Daniel came over and asked what was wrong. I told her what I told the other teacher. She said I knew you looked familiar and laughed. I said this isn't funny. You better handle my son's behaviour or I will and no one will like it. The guy teacher said, please don't talk down to us like that. I said, then please do your job. You are the idiot. How can you criticise those teachers' work when you couldn't even teach your kid to behave in a store in the first place? If you want to lecture the person responsible for your kid's terrible behaviour in the store, find a mirror and give yourself the business. Oh, you are the idiot. Maybe if you have such high standards, you should watch your kid so it goes your way. No part of your story asks if you were the idiot because you don't think you were wrong. So why are you here? For us to butt pat you and tell you what an excellent parent you are? You berated teachers for failing what you couldn't even do. You clearly can't parent your child who sounds like a menace. It's god-awful parents like you who make the lives of teachers exponentially more difficult. Little Johnny would never act like that with me. Yeah, okay, buddy.